Welcome to the Panic Button, everyone. I'm Nina, and I'm alone today. So the BBC has backed news anchor Martine Croxall after she went viral for changing her auto cue from pregnant people to women. Croxall was lauded by the likes of J.K. Rowling on X over the weekend after she interrupted her sentence and appeared to roll her eyes after reading out a quote from a study that cited pregnant people. Well, finally, women are standing up for reality. Because as we all know, people who can get pregnant are biological females. But why I'm bringing this up is not only because of that clip that went viral, but because of the reaction to it. Now, there's this one individual who had a negative reaction to it, and we're going to watch their reaction. So join me.
Malcolm Mystery, who was involved in the research, says that the aged, pregnant people, women, and those with pre-existing health conditions need to take precautions.
So this is how far transphobia has got in the UK. We can't even have a news report on a bloody heatwave. This also shows how bold TERFs have got. She was quoting a doctor and decided that he used the wrong wording. A doctor, an actual doctor who does research on diseases and how they're affecting us.
Okay, so just because it's a doctor doesn't mean that doctors can't be indoctrinated into some crazy ideology like gender ideology. Lots and lots of doctors have been therapists, teachers, what have you. And also, transphobia. Let's look at that word. How often has it been used? And what's it been used for? Pretty much, if you disagree with gender ideology, you're a transphobe. If you don't call a man who thinks he's a woman, you're a transphobe. Pretty much, everyone is a transphobe at some point or another because the word is meaningless. It doesn't really mean transphobia, fear of trans people. They're not even using the word correctly. These people aren't afraid of trans people. They're exhausted by them. And they're not exhausted by trans people, it's the activists. That's what they're tired of. We're all tired of having to tiptoe around these activist, radical people in order to not have to deal with their baloney. You know, now it's like, I'll deal with your baloney. I'm not going to bend the knee. See, they used to say that they wanted to blend in and just live their lives. Well, when these radicals came along, it was bend the knee, bigot, or I'm going to trash you and call you every name in the book. And after a while of having to deal with that, I can understand why people have just had enough and decided I'm not going to tiptoe around these words. These words mean nothing. Pregnant people? What a way to diminish women. Why not just call them incubators? Why even give them any sort of humanity? That's where we're getting to if we keep on continuing down this path by trying to avoid being transphobic. It's absolutely ridiculous. And yes, a doctor who does research. Yeah, well, what kind of doctor is that doctor? Has this doctor been radicalized into gender ideology? Absolutely. Or they're afraid of it. They're afraid of getting canceled by the crazy mob that touts love and acceptance. Unless you don't believe in their baloney, then it's all hate, calling you names, and being nasty.
Use the term pregnant people, and the newsreader saw that, thought, no, doctor must be wrong. I'm going to say women because trans people don't count. And she was...
What? I know better than the doctor. You don't need to be a vet in order to know what a dog is and that a female dog can get pregnant and a male dog can't. You don't need to be a doctor. You have eyes, you have ears, you have experience. You have lived experience, which I thought, according to these people, was valid. But apparently, if you don't buy into other people's lived experience and shut down your own, well, then you're a bigot. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And what? You're a transphobe and you're a TERF because you don't want to say pregnant people? Majority of the people having babies are not trans men, okay? Trans people are what, 1% of the population? What's the percentage of the population that is trans men? Very, very small. People who can get pregnant are biological females, regardless of how they identify. And if they don't like being called females, then they need to grow some thicker skin because the world ain't going to be so kind to you.
so smug about the fact that she got to blatantly disrespect trans people live on air. Look at her facial expression. Here she is before she made that comment, looking like a classic serious newsreader. And here is the smirk that she showed after. The rest of that piece.
So let's talk about smug. The smugness of demanding people use the words you want them to use, even though they don't even know who the hell you are. Demanding people do and say what you want when you are 1% of the population, that's pretty fucking smug.
She said with this grin, because she was so pleased with herself with the fact that she saw trans-inclusive language and decided that she was going to outwardly flout it, even though it was a quote from a fucking doctor. It's also
These people are absolutely deranged. They're seeing things that aren't happening. Did she give a smug look? Was she proud of herself? I didn't see any of that. But when you're cuckoo in the head and you're thinking you're something that you're not, and you're demanding and acting like an asshole to people and demanding people do and say what you want, well, I'd say that you're the one acting a little proud of yourself.
Flout it, even though it was a quote from a doctor.
I'm sorry, but how did she flout it? Exactly. People like this create things in their head that aren't there. It's called psychosis. Because she corrected the term, she thinks that that is somehow screaming it from the rooftops and being all cocky about it. And it's like, what you're seeing isn't actually happening.
It's also worth reminding, because, you know, TERFs drink that transmisogyny sauce, pregnant people is for men like...
I'm sorry, transmisogyny? Transmisogyny. That's a new one. Normal people don't talk like this. Normal people don't use these terms. Transmisogyny? What? You're going to say that to regular people and they're going to be like, you're nuts. That's what they're going to think. They're going to think, you're nuts. I'm not going to listen to you. And you're kind of an asshole. You're saying she's a misogynist, a transmisogynist, and she's a bigot, and she's a TERF, and she's a transphobe, just because she corrected a term that's retarded, that no one uses because it's ridiculous and misogynistic. I'd have to say that you're the jerk-off. You are the jerk-off.
Me. So, as many of you know, my partner and I are currently seeking fertility treatments. My partner is non-binary, and when they get pregnant, they're not going to be...
So the partner is a biological female. You don't say. If someone says they're non-binary, I'm not going to call them multiple people. It's so dumb. You're just androgynous, okay? Back in the day, you were just androgynous. You didn't have to stick up your fucking nose and come up with a term you created 5 seconds ago in order to look important. You're not important. You're not special. Welcome to the real world. None of us are special or important.
A pregnant woman, they're going to be a pregnant person. But TERFs are huffing that transmisogyny juice so much, they think that the phrasing pregnant women, or rather the phrasing pregnant people, isn't for men like me or non-binary people like my partner. It is so that trans women don't...
I feel bad for whatever child pops out of that multiple person. I'm sorry, that woman. I feel terrible because they're going to be indoctrinated into some crazy shit. Just like, no offense, Christians, but children who are born into very evangelical Christian homes that don't adhere to their ideology. That's what Christianity is. It's a religion, it's an ideology, and the radical ones are culty. This is someone who adheres to a radical ideology that's very culty, and their child is going to be born into it. I hope they don't have children, because I don't think people like this should be having children when they're this off their head. They're actually in need of some desperate psychiatric treatment. And instead of getting that treatment because they think they're right about everything, they're going to have a baby, pop it out, fill its head with a whole bunch of nonsense. And then when that kid realizes that everyone else isn't like me, they're going to feel ostracized and alone. And they're going to go to the radical people where mommy and mommy are congregating. And that is a very dangerous place for a child, because I think we all know that when you are in a cult, there's a lot of really bad actors who pretend to be good actors. And people like this don't understand that they're actually bad people that are within their culty society. And they'll just, oh, well, you believe in my ideology, so you must be a good person. And the next thing you know, something bad happens to the kid or something bad happens to them. And whose fault is it? It's their fault.
feel like they're less like women for not being able to get pregnant. Even though it is nothing to do with trans women, it is entirely about trans masculinity. And of course, J.K. Rowling is already huffing her farts over it, and she's doing the classic TERF thing of, oh, thank you for supporting me. I was so brave to say that trans people don't count as actual people live on air. What I brave? It's been such a ride that people now know that.
Hold up. So by not saying pregnant people and saying women, you're saying that trans people don't count as people. But by your own logic, saying that a woman who can get pregnant is just a pregnant person, well, then you're pretty much saying that women don't count and don't exist. These people and their freaking logic, it doesn't match up. As some corny people say on the internet, the math isn't mathing. That's why these people don't ever want to debate or be asked questions or have to answer those questions, because their complete ideology just freaking falls apart because it doesn't make sense. It's a bunch of hypocrisies all clumped together in this mashup of nonsense.
I'm a bigot. This is how normalised transphobia has become within the UK, and this is precisely why people call us TERF Island, because TERFs are so loud and their voices are always spread everywhere, and then they are praised for it.
It was just a matter of time, because before that, it was your crazy loud voices that everyone was praising and bowing down to for the longest time. And the thing about society is that the majority of society doesn't consist of crazy people like this. They're just normal people living their lives. And after a certain amount of time of having to deal with crazy, they push back on crazy. And they're like, I'm not bowing down to your nonsense anymore because it don't make sense and it's making my life miserable and it's making you more of an asshole. Who's the bully here? You are. This is just the beginning. This is the beginning of the pushback. You're crying now about this? Just wait. You better get your little cuddle corner ready, because people are going to start pushing back more and more. And most people don't want to deal with bullshit from people who are bullies.
Well, we are just seen as a nuisance for wanting to be treated as human beings.
No, you're not seen as a nuisance because you want to be treated as human beings. You're seen as a nuisance because you're a nuisance. If you just wanted to live your life and be left alone, fine, do that. Treat you like human beings? Well, how about you treat other people like human beings first and maybe you'll get the same respect. But in order to treat someone like a human being, you can't jump all over their fucking words and tell them what to do. That doesn't work. You want respect? You gotta give respect. And if you don't like what they're saying, walk away. Anyway, that's what I have to say about that. Like and subscribe to our channel. Join our memberships for early access to our videos, uncensored content, and prioritized commenting. And if you have any insight, if you have any words of wisdom, or some things that I didn't see in this video that you want to bring it up in the comments below. And have a good day.